Cameras, something people are carrying with them at all times. And with these cameras, millions of pictures and videos are taken every single day to capture moments and memories that you want to remember forever. With the entire planet being monitored by these lenses every single day, some of the things that are captured are shocking. With all that being said, here are 5 times somebody has accidentally caught something shocking on camera. The neighbourhood of Tapiot, Jerusalem is home to the Versailles Wedding Hall. This is where Karen and Asaf Dror decided to celebrate their special day, hiring out the entire 3rd floor of the wedding venue on May 24th, 2001. At around 11:15, the party was in full flow, with many of the people in attendance on the dance floor, including David, who was right in the thick of it all, capturing all of the happy moments on his camera. That is when the night took an unbelievably tragic turn. Whilst nearly 400 of the wedding guests were crammed onto the dance floor on the 3rd floor of the Versailles Wedding Hall, the floor fell through, plummeting 356 people through 2 stories to the ground below. Some people even had to wait on small broken ledges of floor that were crumbling underneath their feet for hours until they were finally pulled to safety. After the dust settled, the tragedy on the ground became reality. 23 people who just went to attend a wedding lay dead, with a further 320 injured. Amongst the injured was bride Karen, who had to undergo surgery for serious pelvic injuries, and amongst the dead, the groom's own grandfather. Every single movie or TV show that has ever been filmed has been surrounded by dozens of cameras. This was no different for the movie The Twilight Zone that was being filmed in the 1980s and would depict an American man trying to escape the Vietnamese War with 2 Vietnamese children. The actor tasked with playing the American soldier would be Vic Morrow. He was very well liked and very well known in the acting world, having previously worked with Elvis Presley, and the 2 Vietnamese children would be being played by Renee Shinley and Mika Dinley. This brings us to the final day of filming, July 23rd, 1982. The scene that was being filmed was a scene in which Vic's character is running away from an American helicopter with Renee in one arm and Mika in the other arm. The cameras are rolling, and the tragedy that transpired is forever captured in film. The scene was so intense, with explosives going off everywhere. The helicopter was even being piloted by a former Vietnamese war veteran, Dorsey Wingo. He would move the helicopter slightly to the right so the cameraman inside would get a better shot of what was happening. This is when he collided with one of the explosives, and the helicopter crashed to the ground. The 6 men on board miraculously all survived the impact, but the families of Vic Moreau, Renee Shin Lee, and Mika Dinley would not get this same news. The propellers from the helicopter landed directly on Vic and Mika, decapitating them both instantly. Vic actually dropped Renee just before the helicopter crashed to the ground, meaning she had actually escaped the initial impact, but the rest of the helicopter landed on poor Renee, crushing her to death. In the aftermath of the tragedy, it was revealed that the parents of Mika and Renee had no idea that their children would be anywhere near explosives or even a helicopter, as the director didn't notify them about this. Even the pilot, Dorsey Wingo, testified that the director told him nothing about any potential explosives, and he said in the seconds before the helicopter crashed, it was like being in Vietnam all over again. Which leads me to imagine just how Vic, Renee and Mika must have felt in their final seconds. 12-year-old Paris Harvey and 14-year-old cousin Coron grew up together in St. Louis, Missouri, and having grown up together, the pair were seen as inseparable. The pair were together at a family member's house celebrating a birthday party on March 25th, 2022. And as always, the two were running around the house together, just as children do. The pair then got bored and started rummaging around the house. This is when events took a dark turn. The pair found a gun in one of the drawers and started playing with it. This was around the same time that Paris decided to go Instagram Live, and the two were seen playing with the gun on this Instagram Live in front of all their friends watching on. The two were seen jokingly pointing the gun at each other, believing the safety to be on. The people watching the Instagram Live then saw something so horrific. I will not be showing it in this video, but the video does exist out there on the internet. Paris was playing with the gun when somehow, someway, the gun went off, sending a bullet straight into the head of her 12-year-old cousin, Coron, killing him instantly. His body slumped to the floor in front of all the people watching on Instagram Live, but this tragedy wasn't over. Paris, seeing her cousin laying dead in a pool of his own blood, she could not quite comprehend what was in front of her eyes. She said no words, she made no noise. She grabbed the gun, pointed it at her own head, and pulled the trigger. And just like that, 2 young lives were over in a matter of seconds. The Instagram Live was still rolling when family members came upstairs to see what all the commotion was, just to be met by the unfathomably tragic scene. All accidentally caught on camera. The station was a nightclub and concert hall located in West Warwick, Rhode Island. For decades, people would go there to dance and drink the night away. This was no different for the people attending the nightclub on February 20th, 2003. On this particular night, the band Great White were playing, so demand for the nightclub was high, as 462 excited concertgoers packed their way into the station nightclub. One of the 462 people in attendance that night was Brian Butler, a cameraman for a local TV network. He was in attendance, camera in hand, to record a piece on nightclub safety. He was doing this after just 3 days earlier, 21 people had died in a human stampede at the E2 nightclub in Chicago. Little did he know what he was going to capture on his camera that night. The concert started at 11:07 PM, and during the opening song of the concert, the band's manager David Beachley ignited the acoustic foam on both sides of the stage, sending pyrotechnics into the air, and the spectacle was quite a sight. Everybody watched on and cheered, apart from one man. Brian Butler knew something was horribly wrong, and he captures what follows on his camera that was still rolling in his hand.
That's not good.
Anybody inside? Give me a minute. Look at this shit. Watch out for this hole. Timmy, just come here. I called them. Tammy, listen to me.
The stage was far too small for the pyrotechnics that were set off, and these flames hit the ceiling and spread. The only person in the entire venue that seemed to understand the magnitude of the situation was Brian Butler, who quickly made his way to the exits. This was until lead singer Jack Russell turned around and said, "Wow, that's not good." These 4 words incited a mass panic as people started to realise the venue was on fire. The fire spread so quickly and people began to be burned alive. The majority of the people who tried to escape tried to go through the main exit, but to get to the main exit you had to go through a tight corridor, and people became trapped in this tight corridor, with some people even dying of crush-related injuries before the fire could even catch them. The fire burned all night long and firefighters were not able to put it out until the next morning, by which point 100 people were dead and a further 240 injured. Amongst the dead was Great White Band member Ty Longley, who initially left the building through an exit behind the stage before going back into the building to retrieve his guitar, not understanding the severity of what was happening inside. A memorial now stands where the nightclub once did, before it came burning down on a night 100 families will never forget. February 20th, 2003. September 11th, 2001, the day the entire planet stood still. Al-Qaeda hijacked 4 planes that day and wreaked havoc across America as they flew these planes in some of the most important buildings in the country. It all started at 8:46 a.m. This was when this stopped even resembling a normal day, as American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Centers. The world was shocked, and news cameras from across the globe rushed down to the scene, and people on the ground speculated, was this an accident or an act of war? Well, while all their cameras were rolling, they got their answer, as another plane crashed in to the South Tower. The second plane was captured by dozens of news cameras on the scene. But what about the first plane? American Airlines Flight 11. The odds of anybody capturing this plane entering the building were borderline impossible. This was a time before phones, and with no CCTV operating above street level, why would somebody be holding a camcorder, pointing it at the exact point of the North Tower the plane hit on a random Tuesday morning? The Norday brothers were amateur filmmakers and taking work wherever they could find it. So when an open advert came out to film a short documentary for the New York City Fire Department, they snapped up the opportunity. Anytime the firefighters were called out to a job, one of the brothers, Jules or Thomas, would follow, camera in hand. It was Jules who had his camera in hand when he was sent to go follow 3 firefighters who went to investigate a gas leak in Lower Manhattan. He arrived there and started filming. The time was 8:46 AM on the morning of September 11th, 2001.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Yes.
Flames are shooting out. Smoke is pouring out.
Shit, I need to come in here, man.
Okay.
Battalion 1 to Division 1.
Whoa.
Building.
This is the only footage that exists of the first plane going into the North Tower on the day the world changed forever. The camcorder Jules Naudet used to capture this moment of history is now on display in the 9/11 Museum. 2,996 people lost their lives that day, and thousands more in the war that followed, with the start of it all being captured on camera completely by accident. If you did enjoy this video, if you could please like and subscribe, that would mean the world. I'll be giving away £150 to 10 of my first 1,000 subscribers, so don't miss out on that.